Hello everyone! Today we're going to be concluding the How I Would Have Rewritten Ash's Journey series with Hoenn. So Hoenn was a series I actually really enjoyed, but looking back on it, there were some things which I think could have been different. So let's get into this rewrite now. But before we get into things, I just need to make something important. If you didn't watch the last video, I need to explain right now that the Team Rocket trio wouldn't be in this series, as I wrote their conclusion in my Johto video. So anything related to them no longer happens here. This video will also likely be a bit longer than the other videos, as I want to cover Ash and May's stories here, and another important character who you already saw in the thumbnail, but we'll get into that in a bit. So as we get to Hoenn, Pikachu is not sick, since Team Rocket wasn't there to attack him in the previous episode, so Ash's entrance to Hoenn is a lot smoother. He meets May and Birch as usual, but we're gonna make a minor change in episode 1. Here, Birch will give Ash and May Pokeballs from the Dewford Corporation to use on their journey. If you guys watched my other series, you know that I like to have Ash use different types of Pokeballs. I had him use a different apricorn ball for his Johto captures, so he'll be doing the same thing here with the Dewford Corporation Pokeballs. Moving on, things will be the same until episode 4. This is normally the episode where Brock would join Ash on his Hoenn journey. But sorry Brock fans, that won't be happening here. I explained in my Sinnoh rewrite video that I really felt that Brock never needed to be in the Hoenn and Sinnoh series, and I replaced Brock with Lucas in my DP series because of that. As such, I may as well go ahead and replace him here as well. This time, as Ash, May, and Max are being attacked by the Talo, it'll be a different familiar face who reunites with Ash. Casey, his rival from Johto. She's here after she was recommended to check out the region from Professor Elm following her loss to Ash in the Silver Conference. Casey admired Ash's ability to travel to a new region and build a new team to compete in their league, so she wants to do the same thing now. With this, Ash will suggest that they travel together, and Casey initially isn't too big on traveling with her rival, but she decides it would be for the best, since she's not native to the region, whereas at least May and Max are. Plus, May would love to have another girl to travel with. So, in the Sakura universe, Ash would travel with May, Max, and Casey through Hoenn. Casey only has her Bayleaf and Elekid with her, and she's excited to build a new team like Ash. And speaking of building a new team, Ash would catch Talo as usual, and she'll be a female in this series. Ash would fittingly capture her with a timer ball, since her battle with Pikachu was so long, due to her unwillingness to give up until the end. Ash will catch Trico on schedule, but this time in a Premier Ball. Since Team Rocket aren't around, I'm going to have Casey catch Seviper in episode 8, and also that Shroomish in episode 9. Since there's no harm in it, I'll give May the Lotad that Brock would have gotten from episode 12, and she'll catch it in a dive ball. She'll still get her Wurmple as usual though, but she'll be captured in a netball. However, one change here will be that Casey will also gain an interest in contests. She doesn't necessarily want to be a coordinator, but she thinks they look cool, and thinks about trying them out from time to time. Very similar to my idea for Lucas in my DP rewrite. Now, in this universe, Ash will realize how his team is not prepared well for Roxanne, so he does more training, this time with Casey, to prepare for the battle. And Shriko will be able to start learning Bullet Seed earlier, thanks to help from Casey's Shroomish. Pikachu will also begin learning Iron Tail, as usual. He won't master it, but it'll be in the works. So when Ash has his gym battle, Trico will actually be able to take down Geodude. But sadly the same won't be true for Nosepass, and he'll go down. But worry not, as Pikachu will be able to win with his electric attacks and his newly learned Iron Tail. Casey will also battle Roxanne, but it's a completely different story than Ash. Shroomish alone is strong enough to take down both of Roxanne's Pokemon, thanks to having moves like Leech Seed, Stun Spore, and Mega Drain to completely control the battle. This impresses May, Max, and Roxanne, and makes Ash feel a bit lacking. This causes him to train his Pokemon even more on the way to the next gym. In episode 20, Ash and Casey will have their battles against Brawly. Casey will win her battle with Elekid and Bayleaf, and Ash will lose, as in canon. This really upsets him even more, considering how Casey won her battle, and he decides to do some intense training over the next few episodes. In episode 21, Ash actually tries to catch a corfish, but fails. In the original version. But here, Ash will actually be able to catch this corfish, thanks to his Pokemon being more invigorated to succeed, thanks to Ash's recent loss. Also, with Ash having a dive ball, the capture is easier to make, so Corfish is on the team a bit sooner than in canon. In episode 22, Casey will catch an Aron. Then, she'll catch the Mudkip, originally caught by Brock in episode 25. While doing more training with Casey, Ash will learn that Taylor's ability is Guts, and that it can power up her attacks if she has a status affliction. This will give Ash a plan for his rematch against Brawly, and that rematch will happen a bit sooner than usual. Ash will opt to use Corfish in the battle this time, and he manages to take out Brawly's Machop. He then has an intense battle with Hariyama, but he loses. Ash uses Taylor as his second pick, and despite her type advantage, she struggles against the powerful Pokemon. But when Hariyama hits Secret Power and paralyzes Taylor, she gets a power boost from Guts, which allows her to deal even more powerful damage with Wing Attack. Hariyama tries dealing a finishing blow with Focus Punch, but Taylor counters back with Facade, a move she learns through her intense desire to win. This allows her to finish off Hariyama, giving Ash the win. May's journey will continue to progress pretty normally, only her Pokemon will be stronger, as she will do contest training with Casey, who plans to enter with her. So Wurmple will fully evolve into Beautifly, and all of May's Pokemon will have more powerful moves. She will have her first contest, and she actually fares better due to having worked so much with Casey. Casey will actually be the one to face Drew in the contest instead of May, and she'll be able to defeat his Roselia with her Seviper. But she gets knocked out in a later round. But with May's obstacle having been taken down, she manages to push through, and she actually wins her first run with Beautifly in her very first contest. We're going to make another big change here, and that'll be moving Ash's capture of Torkoal to be after this contest. He'll be caught in a repeat ball, at Max's suggestion, because he likes how the color matches Torkoal's body. Otherwise, everything can remain the same up until we get to Wattson. Here, we'll have another big change, as it won't be Pikachu, but Casey's Elekid, who becomes overcharged by the Raikou robot and sweeps Wattson. Wattson awards her with her badge and tells Ash that he'll battle him later. This is when the kids will notice the issue with Elekid, and though Casey is reluctant, after her Pokemon is healed, she goes to return the badge. But Wattson will let her keep it, with the agreement that they can have a rematch in the future, which Casey accepts. Then, Wattson battles Ash the next day. Ash's battle against Wattson will be different, as it's going to be a 4v4 double battle, much to Ash's shock, since Casey's battle was a normal 3v3. Wattson will start with Plusle and Minun, so Ash will use Taylor and Pikachu. Taylor may be weak to electric attacks, but these attacks from Wattson's Pokemon don't even compare to the electric shocks she endured from Pikachu when they first met. And this is with the fact that their abilities make their attacks even stronger. Thunder Wave paralyzing her also powers up her moves, so she takes out Plusle with Facade, while Pikachu feints Minun with a combo of Spark and Iron Tail. Yes, Pikachu knows Spark here, even though we couldn't learn it in Gen 3. I explained why that is in the previous video in this series, so I'll link that here. Wattson then sends out Electrike and Manectric, and this duo manages to finish off Ash's first two Pokemon. Then he brings in Treecko and Torkoal as his final two. Electrike and Manectric proved to be extremely strong. Torkoal actually deals a lot of damage to both Pokemon with Heat Wave, and he manages to take out Electrike with a Body Slam. But Manectric retaliates with a strong Thunder that Torkoal is too slow to avoid, and he goes down. Treecko, wanting to avenge his friend, manages to willpower his way into evolving earlier than in canon, and he can finish off the weakened Manectric with his new Leaf Blade. Ash praises Grovyle on his new power, as Wattson awards him his badge. The reason I changed the format of this battle is because I wanted a double battle to show off Plusle and Minun battling as a team with their abilities powering each other up, since double battles were the new gimmick of this generation, and the special gimmick of these two electric-type Pokemon, so that would fit with Wattson's gym battle. May catches her Skitty as usual, and competes in and wins the Fall Arbor contest, this time using Torchic, earning her second ribbon. Casey entered with Elekid, but sadly she lost, as she still isn't too used to contest battling. Moving on to Lavaridge Town, Ash and Casey will battle Flannery. In Ash's battle, he uses Taylor first, and as she's done so far, she manages to win after a burn powers her up, and she can defeat Slugma with a powered-up facade. Now here, Casey will note that she's concerned that Ash is over-relying on Taylor's guts ability in many battles so far. Taylor will then battle Macargo, but will fall to a rock slide. Ash will send in Corfish, who will be able to easily take down Macargo. But Flannery's shiny Torkoal will actually be able to overpower Corfish after using Sunny Day and continuous powered-up overheat attacks. But this is when Ash uses his own Torkoal, and thanks to Flannery's Torkoal using overheat so much, her moves can't hit Ash's Torkoal so hard. So Ash's Torkoal can wear it down with Flamethrower, then take it down with Body Slam. Casey's battle goes pretty well, as Mudkip, Aeron, and Seviper can pretty easily take down Flannery's team, after Casey was able to study her battle style while watching Ash's match. Later, Casey does have her rematch with Wattson, and Bayleaf manages to beat his main Metric by evolving into Meganium, once pushed to her limits. She and May continue training together, and May's Lotad evolves into Lombre during a battle against Casey's Aeron. The two compete in the Verdant Turf contest, and May will win as usual, this time with her Lombre, getting her third ribbon. May will also catch the Swablu she bonded with in the following episode. Moving on, it's time to face Norman. Casey will battle first, but she actually will lose, giving her her first Hoenn loss. Max is unsurprised that his father would win, and this actually intimidates Ash, since Casey had been doing so well in her battles thus far. The two does decide to train together for Ash's battle in her rematch, with May helping out. In a practice battle against May's Torchic and Casey's Shumish, Torchic evolves into Combuskin somewhat sooner than in canon, and Shumish evolves into Breloom. Ash's Taylor will also evolve earlier than in canon, as she trains with May's Swablu. Casey will have her rematch, and this time things go much better. Aeron takes down Slackoth before being swapped out for Meganium when Vigoroth comes in. The two Pokemon battle intensely, but take each other out when Solar Beam collides with Flamethrower. Slacking is last, so Casey sends out Aeron again. Aeron actually uses his small size to his advantage, as he is a difficult target to hit. He also lands numerous Metal Claw and Rock Tomb attacks for big damage, but Slacking will still take him down with Focus Punch. Breloom will come out last, surprising Norman. The fighting type is able to fare much better against Slacking, and will take the Behemoth down with a Sky Uppercut. Max becomes upset as usual, but they calm him down, and he then becomes excited for Ash's battle against his father. Ash's battle against Norman will honestly be similar to canon. The only difference is that in this universe, with Ash already knowing Norman's strategy, he'll start with Torkoal off the bat, who will take out Slackoth pretty easily. Things will continue with Norman sending out Vigoroth and Ash switching to Pikachu. He and Vigoroth will get into an intense fight, which Vigoroth will actually win. But he becomes paralyzed by Pikachu's static. So when Torkoal comes back out, he's able to take down the much slower Vigoroth with a powerful Overheat. Slacking is out last, and he can finish off Torkoal, though not before receiving a painful burn from Flamethrower. Grovyle is out last for Ash, and Slacking and Grovyle would face off in an intense fight, which would result in Grovyle winning, giving Ash his 5th badge. Casey's Aeron will evolve into Lairon soon after this, and May will catch her Bulbasaur as usual. The two will then enter the Rubello contest. Things will be different here, as May will still struggle with Bulbasaur, but this time, her major opponent is Casey. Yes, this time it's Casey's Lairon who gives Bulbasaur trouble, and with his more advanced battle skills, he pretty easily defeats Bulbasaur in the battle round, allowing Casey to win the contest. This causes a lot of tension between the girls, as May is furious over losing here, especially since Casey is not even a coordinator. Casey doesn't see the big deal, and offers to just give May the ribbon, but May refuses to accept it. She thinks Casey was inconsiderate to enter contests and ruin her chance at winning. This issue actually won't be resolved right away, and the girls will be bickering about this for quite a few episodes, leaving Max and Ash stressed out by the whole situation. In fact, they'll keep bickering until the group has to deal with Team Aqua at the Weather Institute, 5 episodes later. The boys get captured, and the girls need to work together to save them. Casey winds up protecting Max from Team Aqua grunts, leaving May to get over her anger after seeing how Casey truly does care for them both. The two then decide to team up to defeat Team Aqua, and Casey's Mudkip evolves into Marshtomp. The next major change will be Ash making his final Hoenn capture of Snorunt much earlier. A friendly Snorunt who hangs around the Weather Institute ends up befriending Ash during the Team Aqua skirmish, and it follows him to the next episode, so he captures it in a nest ball. And since Ash caught him much earlier, he can train him with May Swablu, who knows Ice Beam, so he can master the move much sooner. By the way, I know I haven't mentioned Team Aqua and Team Magma throughout this video at all, but assume that their story has remained the same as canon for the most part. Also, the Pokeringer competition did happen, only Swallow has already evolved, and May will use Swablu instead of Beautifly. With no Team Rocket, it'll be Ash and May in the finals, and shockingly, Swablu will be able to win here. She uses Agility to outspeed Swallow, then Ice Beam to deal a lot of damage to her. Eventually, she manages to freeze her wings, sending the larger bird to the ground, and giving May the win. Ash realizes here that he needs to improve Swallow's battling style, since he spent too much time over-relying on Guts and Facade, so he plans to train more with her. Since Casey couldn't enter due to not having a flying type, she spends the episode training, and her Elekid evolves into Electabuzz. Now it's time for Ash and Casey to battle Winona. Ash will battle first this time around. Pikachu goes up against Tropius, but the grass type is actually able to overpower him and get the win. But he does paralyze it with Thunderbolt before going down. This allows Snorunt to come in and finish off the weakened dinosaur with his Ice Beam. Next for Winona is Altaria. Ash thinks everything will be fine until Altaria shows off Flamethrower. This causes Snorunt to struggle a lot, but he tries everything in his power to win for Ash. Ice Beam and Flamethrower clash, and the explosion causes a double knockout. Last, the Swallow vs. Swallow clash happens the same as in canon, with Ash's Swallow winning in a natural battle, finally not relying on Guts, giving Ash his 6th badge. Casey battles next, and things go pretty well. Seviper is able to best Altaria, while Electabuzz defeats Pelipper easily. Lairon and Skarmory then get into rigorous battle, where Lairon is able to win. Next is time for May to enter the Lily Cove contest. Casey opts not to enter this time. May tries to tell her that she doesn't mind her entering, but Casey just decides to train with Ash instead. May thus uses Skitty this time around to win her 4th ribbon. The Aqua and Magma 2-parter happens as usual, only of course Team Rocket isn't in the way. So we can move right into Ash and Casey battling Tate and Liza, and in this universe, Ash and Casey will agree to face Tate and Liza in a tag battle. Ash would use Corphish, and Casey would use Marshtomp. They struggle a bit at first, but due to the twins' constant arguing, Ash and Casey manage to gain the upper hand. Eventually, a combination of Water Pulse and Bubble Beam gets them the win, earning them their 7 badges. May then competes in the Pre-Eureka contest, where she meets Harley, but this time she loses against him. She does vow to defeat him next time though, and Casey will also gain a huge dislike for him after he tried to embarrass May in the contest. I'm gonna insert a new episode right around here. The kids will go to a Pokemon Stone Festival while on their way to the next location. The festival has a tournament where Pokemon who evolve with stones can compete. May winds up entering with Lombre and Skitty and wins the whole thing. She is awarded with a Water and Moonstone to evolve her Pokemon, which she does at the end of the competition. Now it's time to move to Ash and Casey's final gym battle. It'll be a 5v5, with Casey going first, and she really has no issues here. Meganium, Electabuzz, and Breloom are more than enough for her to get the win, with Seviper helping out as well. So now it's time for Ash. The battle begins as a double battle, with Seaking and Celio going up against Grovyle and Snorunt. Snorunt is still a bit weak, but Grovyle is able to cover him throughout the battle. Ash has also learned a lot from watching May and Casey in their contests, so he tries some combination attacks. The duo combine a Bullet Seed and Ice Beam to take out Seaking. Then when it comes to Celio, it's an Ice Beam Leaf Blade combo that gives them the win. Moving on to the second round, Love Disc is out first, and Ash sticks with Grovyle. But he's incredibly weakened after the first round, and he loses after getting hit with Sweet Kiss. Then finished off with Blizzard. Ash brings Corphish in, and he manages to take down Love Disc. Whiscash is out next for Juan, and he defeats Corphish. Ash decides to use Swallow next, and she manages to finish off Whiscash. Milotic is last for Juan, and the two get into a tough battle, but she can easily take down Swallow. Ash brings Snorunt back in, but as he's also tired from the first battle, he goes down as well, though he does manage to freeze a bit of the gym pool before going down. Pikachu is last, and since he didn't battle in round 1, he's in a much better predicament than in canon. The battle is tough, but ultimately, Pikachu is able to corner Milotic to the frozen area of the pool. Then he uses a powerful spark while Milotic is under the water to get the win. It's time for May's final contest in Pacifica Town, and we're going to change things up. To May's shock, this contest will be a double performance contest, meaning she'll have to use 2 Pokemon. I want to introduce double performance contests in Hoenn because I think it makes a bit more sense, especially since double battles were introduced in Gen 3. May spends episode 115 checking the teamwork of her Pokemon and ultimately decides that she'll be entering with Swablu and Bulbasaur. Casey also decides to enter, secretly with the hopes that May will be able to beat her and win her final ribbon. In the following episode, she goes through the contest pretty well with her chosen duo, but Casey also does well with Breloom and Marshtomp. Indeed, the two will face off in the finals, and Casey actually has the upper hand for a while, despite her Pokemon's type disadvantages to May's. She actually taunts May, asking her how she'll be able to battle in the Grand Festival if she can't win like this, when her opponent has given her an advantage. This gets May to reevaluate her battling and contest skills, and after using all of the techniques she's learned over her journey, Swablu and Bulbasaur managed to outperform Breloom and Marshtomp, giving her the win and her 5th ribbon. Casey congratulates May, as she's happy that she was the one to give May her final challenge to earn her last ribbon. Now, May won't be catching her Munchlax just yet, so we're going to move right into the Grand Festival. In the episode where the Ribbon Cup gets stolen, May will help retrieve it with Combuskin, and she will evolve into Blaziken much earlier than in canon. May is now ready for the Grand Festival, and since there's no Team Rocket in sight, things will go by much smoother. May gets through the preliminary appeal round with Bulbasaur. However, in her second appeal, May is unwilling to take Harley's bad advice for her performance, as Casey urges her not to, since she still has a grudge against the guy. So with Delcatty, May doesn't just spam assist, and uses Delcatty's own talents to make it into the next round with a higher score than she canonically had. May will battle Harley as in canon, though this time it'll be Blaziken and Ludicolo battling together. Though Harley's Cacturne and Bayonet are tough, May's stronger Pokemon can much more easily face off against his, and they defeat his Pokemon outright, allowing May to defeat Harley for the first time, much to Casey's delight. She then moves on to face Drew in the next round. Drew uses his Roselia and Flygon, while May chooses to use Beautifly and Swablu. With May's Pokemon being much stronger in this universe, she fares much better against Drew. Swablu actually manages to defeat Flygon with Ice Beam, but Roselia takes it down with Magical Leaf. It's down to Beautifly versus Roselia, and when the time runs out, it's Drew who has the most points. May is upset by her loss, but says she'll keep working on her skills as a coordinator. It's now nearly time for the Hoenn League, and along the way, Ash's Snorunt and Casey's Lairon evolve during their respective training. This will also be when Ash reveals that he will only be using his Hoenn Pokemon for the League, surprising his friends, especially Casey. But Casey agrees that she wants to do the same thing. After all, this is what their rivalry was built on from the start. We'll see which trainer's new team will take them to the finals. All of the Hoenn rivals are there as well, and Team Rocket isn't, of course, so let's move forward. The preliminaries begin, and Ash and Casey make it through with Pikachu and Meganium easily. Next, it's time for the double battle qualifying rounds. Casey wins her battle with Seviper and Aggron, while Ash's battle goes pretty much the same as in canon, only swapping out Corphish for Glalie. Torkoal and Glalie are able to overpower Dominic's Tropius, taking it down with a combo attack. And with Swalot all alone, they can finish it off pretty easily, moving Ash forward. In the next round, Ash faces Clark's Quilava and Charizard with Grovyle and Corphish. Grovyle doesn't do too well at all due to the type matchup, but Corphish is able to do most of the heavy hitting, giving Ash the win here. Casey's Electabuzz and Breloom take her through the next round as well. Now it's time to move on to the full battles. Ash's battle against Katie will go the same as in canon, so we can skip that. Casey, Morrison, and Tyson will win their battles normally as well. However, a big change here will be that it'll be Casey battling Morrison in this timeline. Morrison will have no issue battling Casey though, so he'll be giving it his all. Unfortunately, that really won't be enough to stop Casey. Girafarig versus Electabuzz results in the electric type winning. Growlithe comes in next, but Casey switches to Marshtomp, who takes it down with no issue. Casey begins taunting Morrison, which causes him to get serious. He goes with his Swampert next, and it takes down its pre-evolved form pretty easily. So Casey sends out Breloom, and the Pokemon get into an intense fight, where they knock each other out. They have a short break due to Morrison losing 3 Pokemon, and when they come back for the second half, the battle is between Steelix and Aggron. The Steel types get into a tough battle, but Aggron manages to get the victory. Morrison uses his Gligar next, and the Pokemon wins with Guillotine. Meganium comes out and manages to defeat the weakened Gligar. This leaves Morrison with only 1 Pokemon to Casey's 3. Metang fights his hardest, but he's no match for Casey's remaining Pokemon. Though he takes out Meganium, Electabuzz comes in to get the final win with Thunder, giving Casey the win. Ash then faces Tyson. The battle begins similarly to Canon, with Glalie facing Sceptile. However, the two will actually have a bit of a longer battle this time around, with Glalie managing to defeat Sceptile. That said, he's far too weak to do much else, and a rollout from Donphan takes him down. Ash sends out Corphish, and though rollout hits hard, he manages to hold his own and defeats Donphan with a Crab Hammer. Shiftry comes out next and takes out Corphish with a Solar Beam. Ash next sends out Torkoal, who blasts Shiftry out of the match with Overheat. Tyson then goes with Hariyama, and though the battle is tough, Hariyama can resist Torkoal's fire attacks pretty well thanks to Thick Fat. He then finishes off Torkoal with Focus Punch. Next is Swellow, and the two manage to get into an intense battle, though Swellow takes the win with a strong Aerial Ace. Metagross comes out next, and it managed to take out Swellow, though not before she lands some hard hits to its head. Grovyle then comes in and does the Canon strategy of focusing all of its attacks into one spot to weaken it. Grovyle falls, but Pikachu is able to come in and finish off Metagross. Last for Tyson is Meowth, and he and Pikachu get into a tough battle. This time around, with Pikachu having Spark, he's a powerful close-range electric attack to counter Slash, which allows him to fare much better. The two Pokemon clash with extreme intensity, but Meowth winds up getting paralyzed by Spark. This causes him to falter during the final Iron Tail collision, allowing Pikachu to land a clean hit before Meowth can land his attack. As such, it's Meowth who goes down in the end, giving Ash the win here. So once again, things have now changed. With Ash defeating Tyson, he'll be moving into the next round. It's still the top 8 though, since remember, Ash didn't battle Morrison earlier, Casey did. And on that note, Casey will in fact be Ash's next opponent. It's time for the longtime rivals to have another rematch, and this time it's going to be a full battle. Ash will start with Glalie, while Casey goes with Seviper. The two will get into a tough battle, but Seviper will get the win, putting things in Casey's favor right away. Next, Ash would use Corphish, and he'd be able to finish off the snake. Next for Casey would be Meganium, and she'd be able to take out Corphish with her Solar Beam. Ash would then send in Torkoal, and despite his type advantage, the battle would be tough as Meganium is quite strong. But Torkoal would still get the win with a well-timed Overheat. Next, Casey would use Aggron, and he'd defeat Torkoal with Rock Tomb. After a quick break following Casey's 3 wins, the battle would continue with Pikachu facing Aggron, and he'd be able to defeat the Pokemon with a powerful Thunderbolt. Breloom would be next, and the Mushroom Kangaroo would pummel Pikachu into the ground with Mach Punch, awarding Casey another win. Ash would send in Swellow, and these two would battle intensely before Swellow would take victory. Casey's next Pokemon would be Electabuzz, and he'd defeat the bird with Thunder Punch. Ash's last choice would be Grovyle, and he'd use his type resistance to defeat Electabuzz. Last for Casey would be Marshtomp, and despite his type disadvantage, he manages to hold his own for a while, since Grovyle is a bit tired from the earlier match. Grovyle starts to get the upper hand though, and nearly takes him down. But in his desperation to win, Marshtomp would evolve into Swampert, then pull out a secret weapon, Ice Beam. Casey had asked May and Swablu to help teach Swampert the move for such an occasion as this, and it works out, with his super effective move freezing Grovyle, allowing Swampert to hit a hard dynamic punch, finishing off Grovyle, giving Casey her first victory over Ash. Casey is ecstatic over her win, and while Ash is sad over being eliminated from the league, he's happy that his protege has shown off such tremendous growth. Casey would sadly lose in the top 4, but the battle was very close, and Ash is proud of her. After the Evergrande conference ends, Casey decides that she's ready to move on and travel on her own again. She's learned a lot from Ash, May, and Max, but knows that in order to become stronger, she needs to travel solo once more. The group wishes each other well, and they separate. Ash would then decide to head to the Kanto region to take part in their Battle Frontier, and May and Max would tag along for May to compete in Kanto contests. Normally, I would like to keep the Battle Frontier in Hoenn in this universe, but there's a very particular reason why I'm going to have it still be in Kanto, which we'll see in a little bit. But now it's time for the Battle Frontier, and just like our Orange Islands recap, this one will be pretty quick. May will drop off Beautifly, Ludicolo, and Delcatty, giving her space to catch Munchlax, Squirtle, and Eevee, as she would have. Ash would also add Phanpy back to the team, and she'd evolve into Donphan during this journey. Now, let's quickly go over Ash's Frontier Brain battles. Charizard will be able to defeat Nolan's Articuno as in canon, with no changes here. However, our biggest change will come with Greta. Instead of Ash calling back Snorlax, which I always thought was weird for her fighting types, he's going to be using his oldest fighting type, Primeape. Grovyle would fare better this time around, and he'd be able to defeat Medicham, who Greta would use first here. But Primeape would take down Hariyama in the latter half of this battle. Greta would be so impressed by this, as she considers Hariyama her strongest Pokemon, that she'd offer to train Primeape, and Ash would agree, so Primeape would be given to her for training. Yes, I know many of you have been wondering, since Kanto, why Ash hadn't given up Primeape yet, even though I still had him release Butterfree and Pidgeot, though Butterfree's was very delayed. The reason for that was twofold. One, obviously I wanted him to be used in the rematch against Gary in the Silver Conference, so he couldn't be given away before then. And two, I just thought having Ash catch Primeape and release him so soon, and then give him away to some random character was so unnecessary. I'd rather Ash give his Pokemon to someone significant, like a Frontier Brain. Besides, he's still being given to someone in Kanto, in this universe, and in the series, so I think it all works out. Anyway, Ash's battle against Tucker would go as in canon, but things would change again at Lucy. Here, in the middle of the battle against Milotic, as Ash's Pikachu attempts to hit Spark, this attack would evolve into Volt Tackle, giving him the victory. Since Team Rocket isn't here, I figured that this was the next best place for Pikachu to learn this move, since he would have learned it by this point anyway. And yes, now I can confirm that Pikachu learning Spark was a precursor to Volt Tackle. I feel like Spark turning into Volt Tackle makes more sense than Quick Attack, so there you go. Grovyle would evolve into Sceptile and have the same story he originally had. I'm also going to change up the Spencer battle and have Ash use Glalie over Heracross. I think Glalie fits better and allows another one of Ash's Hoenn team members to battle against a Frontier Brain. I'd have Glalie take down Shiftry and Venusaur before Sceptile takes the final win against Claydol. Now against Annabelle, things will change again, and we're going to be replacing Corphish with Heracross. Since Corphish already got a win against Tucker, I'd rather this one go to another team member, and since we just removed Heracross from Spencer, he can be used here. I know he's a fighting type, but he's also a bug type, so things should be pretty even for him. Also, since Pikachu got Ash the win for Lucy, I'll take him out of this match too, and instead use Torkoal, since he's the last member of the Hoenn team that hasn't been used in a match yet. Here I'd have him beat Metagross, Heracross could take out Espeon, and Tauros would defeat Alakazam. But it would be Torkoal and Metagross in the final battle in this universe. Ash would still catch his Aipom as in canon, though this time she's going to be caught in a luxury ball. It's the Devon Corporation ball that hasn't been used by anyone yet, and I think it fits her as a future contest star, especially since Dawn isn't giving her away in our timeline. All of Ash's battles against Brandon would go as in canon, so we really don't need to be wasting our time going over them. And that would wrap up Ash's story. So now let's quickly finish May's story. Like I said, Munchlax's capture was a bit delayed, but she would catch him soon into their Kanto journey. Then Squirtle and Eevee would be obtained in the same way as canon. Her Saffron contest would go the same, only Combuskin is already a Blaziken. As for her Silver Town contest, I'll have her use Swablu here over Blaziken, and she'd probably evolve into Altaria during the battle round, giving her a powerful and elegant victory. Blaziken can thus learn Mega Kick a bit later, maybe during some training. May would still lose to Harley in Winsteria Town, because I think she could lose a loss, and this sets up the Harley rematch in the Grand Festival. Moving on to Chrysanthemum Island, again, I'd replace Blaziken with Altaria, just to give her some more spotlight. Besides, an Altaria versus Vibrava aerial battle sounds cool. Since Brock isn't here and Casey left, May would just battle against a random coordinator in the Gardenia Town contest, and Eevee would win as usual. But I'd give Bulbasaur the appeal round, since Squirtle had her time in the earlier contest. And yes, I'm gonna say May Squirtle is a girl. I always assumed it was, though technically it was never confirmed, but she'll definitely be a female here. Anyway, May would still use Blaziken and Squirrel together in the Mulberry contest, and now we can get into the Kanto Grand Festival. For the Grand Festival, May will rotate her entire team around. We'll bring back Beautifly to open up the competition in the first appeal round, which I think will bring things full circle as she was May's first contest star, so I think she deserves this. Also, going through this had me remember just how overused Combuskin was in canon, so the rest of May's team really needs the attention here. Instead of using Munchlax in the second appeal, May will have Ludicolo handle it, and he'll create a dazzling spectacle of water and grass. But don't worry, Munchlax and Eevee will still face off against Harley in the battle round, and they will win as usual. May will face Drew, but instead of using Squirtle, Delcatty will be brought in to face off against Drew with Blaziken. She knows Blizzard to handle Flygon, and with Blaziken being stronger here, it'll be an intense battle, with May still winning. May would use Munchlax and Altaria against Soledad, and the battle would actually be much closer than in canon, where May was basically mollywopped. Sadly for May, Soledad would still get the win, but again, May would come close to beating her with her stronger Pokemon and higher skills, giving her more confidence by the end of this journey. We'd still end things off with the Terracotta contest, though of course, Blaziken is already evolved. I do think it would be cute for Casey to come back to compete in this final contest with Ash and May. She'd still lose, but I think she would actually be the one to show off Electivire instead of Gary, and this could be what prompts Ash to go to Sinnoh. Gary could have a Magmortar instead, since he already had a Magmar. So yeah, May would head to Johto, Max would head back to Hoenn, and Ash would then go to Sinnoh. And I guess we could write that Casey would continue her journey through Kanto to cover all of the then 4 regions. Anyway, from here, you know how things would go. I already rewrote Sinnoh up until Galar, so this concludes Ash's journey rewrites in the Sakura universe. I hope you all enjoyed this series, and I'd love to know what you thought of my changes to all of Ash's journeys. I must say, I think this might be my favorite part of the rewrites, just because I love all of the changes we made and how differently the story developed. But you guys can let me know how you would have rewritten Ash's Hoenn and Battle Frontier adventures. I'll put a full link to my playlist of rewriting Ash's journeys in the description so you can check them all out. I do want to do a final full video encompassing Ash's entire story in the Sakura universe once I finish the Alola and Galar series, so hopefully I can get to that eventually. But as for now, that'll be the end of this series and the end of this video. Thank you!